Tertullian was a Christian teacher and writer in the Roman province of Africa. That was roughly where today's Tunisia is. Among his thought-provoking sayings is this one: "The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church." Tertullian had observed that where there were martyrdoms, the church grew. That's not the kind of principle we consider in our modern church growth theory. But how true it is that where there have been martyrs, the Church of Jesus Christ has grown. Our English word martyr comes from the Greek word for a witness, someone who has observed something and who testifies to it, perhaps in a court of law. And the whole point of being a witness is to point away from yourself. And that's the whole point about the martyrs. It was not that they gained their eternal salvation by giving their own lives. It was rather that their whole lives pointed to Christ, and in particular, their willingness to give up their lives pointed to the one who gave up his life. A good sign does not draw attention to itself. It points away. And we are called as Christians to point away to the death of Christ, to die with him, in order that we may live for him. Now, for most of us, that means that self-denial is an integral part of the Christian life. But Christian martyrs take that to the ultimate. You notice that I'm using the present tense. For while we think of these martyrs of the early Christian centuries, it has been said that no century had more Christian martyrs than the 20th century. And that continues today into the 21st century. Suffering is the widespread experience of our Christian brothers and sisters in parts of East and West and North Africa, in the Middle East, in a number of countries in Asia. The persecution of Christians is widespread in the world today, and it's too easy for those of us who live in the comfort and safety of the West to forget that. But Tertullian's saying is proving true today, that the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. One Asian country where the Church of God has grown enormously is Korea. And you may have heard of Robert Germain Thomas, a Welsh missionary with the London Missionary Society in China. He heard that there was an American ship going to Korea, then known as the Hermit Kingdom because it kept foreigners out. And Thomas jumped at the opportunity to take a consignment of Bibles with him. Unfortunately, the arrival of the ship in Korea was mishandled, and the Koreans thought they were being attacked. Thomas made it to the shore with a package of Bibles, and he started handing them out. His last act was to push a Bible into the hand of the man who was killing him. But today, the Christian church has flourished, and Korea sends more Christian missionaries abroad than any other country apart from the United States. James Montgomery lived a generation earlier, born in Scotland in 1771, the child of Moravian missionaries who gave their lives in the West Indies. Montgomery was a poet and a hymn writer, the editor of a radical newspaper in the city of Sheffield in England. And one of his most vivid poems, sung as a hymn, takes the Old Testament theme of God as a warrior king and sings about the Son of God going forth to war. But of course, the warfare of the Son of God is not in inflicting pain, but in bearing pain and suffering and even death. Montgomery challenges us to follow the saints and martyrs in his train, that is, in his procession. He visualizes this great procession of martyrs, beginning with Stephen, the first martyr, and then the 12, and then the rest of the martyr throne. Here is Montgomery's hymn. The Son of God goes forth to war, a kingly crown to gain. His blood-red banner streams afar. Who follows in his train? Who best can drink his cup of woe, triumphant over pain? Who, patient, bears his cross below? He follows in his train. The martyr first whose eagle eye could pierce beyond the grave, who saw his master in the sky and called on him to save. Like him, with pardon on his tongue, in midst of mortal pain, he prayed for them that did the wrong. Who follows in his train? A glorious band, the chosen few on whom the Spirit came. 12 valiant saints, their hope they knew, and mocked the cross and flame. They met the tyrant's brandished steel, the lion's gory mane. They bowed their heads the death to feel. Who follows in their train? A noble army, men and boys, the matron and the maid, around the Saviour's throne rejoice, in robes of light arrayed. They climbed the steep ascent of heaven, through peril, toil, and pain. O God, to us may grace be given to follow in their train.